Hey everybody, my name's Ryan, and here at eTrailer we install, test, fit, and review a lot of different parts. That way we could try to answer any questions those of you might have. And that's exactly what we're doing here today on our 2020 Lincoln Navigator. We're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install the Roadmaster Smart Diode wiring kit. So there's going to be a total of 5 main components needed to flat tow your Navigator down the road behind your motorhome. The first one's going to be your base plate. Now this is going to provide us with a solid and reliable connection point. That way we can hook up our tow bar. The tow bar is going to be that second component, and this is going to be the actual physical link that's connecting the front of your Navigator to the back of your motorhome. The third main component is going to be safety cables. These are pretty straightforward. These are going to be here in the event of an unlikely disconnect. These are going to keep everything attached together. The fourth main component is going to be tow bar wiring. And this is going to transfer the lighting signals from the back of your motorhome to the back of your Lincoln, keeping you not only safe but legal as well. And last but not least is your braking system. And what this is going to do is apply the brakes in your Navigator whenever you apply the brakes in your motorhome. And that's just going to help bring you to a more safe and predictable stop. So this kit is going to give you the necessary lighting functions, not only to remain safe, but legal as well. So what it's going to do is mirror the signals from the back of your motorhome. So right now we have our taillights on, so that's what you see, but it's also going to have our turn signals. So if we hit the left turn in our motorhome, left turn's going to go on back here. So we have our left, right, taillights, as well as our brake lights. So when it comes to getting a wiring kit for your Navigator, you're going to have a couple of different options. One being the Smart Diode kit like we have here today. And this is the one I would recommend. It's super easy to use once everything's installed. You more or less just have to plug it in up front. And the reason that you're going to want to use smart diodes is since the Navigator's taillights are actually variable voltage LEDs, a standard traditional type diode won't actually work with it. You could get some signals, but not the others, and that's what the smart diode is going to come into play. It takes that variable voltage and processes it and allows that signal to pass through. That way, say for example, if you turn your taillights on, you're going to get your taillights and all of your other signals, so you know everything's going to work properly. This is definitely the way I would go. Like I said, super easy to use once it is all installed. You're not even going to notice it's there. On the other hand, what you could do is use a lighting setup like this. These are magnetic lights, and honestly, I'm not a big fan of them. And probably just by looking, you can tell why. So with these, you would have to stick these on your vehicle. Something I personally want to do, especially with such a nice vehicle like this. These could potentially scratch everything up. You know, they're made from a hard plastic. And then not to mention, you're going to have to take this wiring, drape it over the front of your SUV, and do that every time you want to flat tow. Not to mention, whenever you are ready to drive around, you're going to have to pull this stuff off and keep it off to the side. So kind of a hassle in my opinion, and that's why I would highly recommend the smart diodes over a setup like this. So I mentioned how easy it is to hook up whenever you are ready to flat tow. And here at the front of our vehicle, the only thing that you're going to have to do is plug in one cable, this one here. So this will go to the back of your 7-way on your motorhome, and the other connector will simply just plug right in to the connector here at the front of your Navigator. So that's all there is to it. You don't have to do anything else, anything special whenever you're ready to go. So really convenient. If you're already hooking everything up right here anyway, it doesn't really take up a whole lot of more time just to plug in one extra connection. Now, there are a few different types of cables available, and those are really going to depend on which one you need. Is really going to depend on what type of tow bar you have. So in our case today, we have a curly cable, and that's because our tow bar here doesn't have any built-in channels in it. So because of that, you want a curly one. That way it will kind of be in like this whenever you're going straight, and you're not going to have to worry about it kind of dragging the ground or anything like that. But on the same note, whenever you make those wide turns, we're going to have that stretch and get that extra length that we need. And I mentioned that there's 3 cables. I showed you this one. One of the other ones is just a straight cable. And you would use this if your tow bar had channels in it. And how you would do that is the cable would run through those channels, get plugged in to the back of the motorhome, to the front of your Navigator. And what that's going to do is keep this cable up off the ground and utilize those tow bar channels the way they should be. So that's a reason you would use this one. And there's one more, and this one's kind of a hybrid almost. This is also designed to be used with tow bars that have channels. So it plugs in just like the others. However, you can see one part of it is straight, so that would run through your tow bar. And here towards the end, it's partially coiled. And what this is going to do is kind of give you a little bit extra. I feel like I would definitely use this if maybe my flat tow had a lot of space in between the front of my vehicle and the back of my motorhome. So let's say, for example, maybe you have a exceptionally long tow bar, or maybe the hitch on your motorhome comes way out and you have a lot of distance in between the two. This is one I would probably lean to. That is, of course, if my tow bar had the channels. That's because those coils here are going to give you a little bit of extra length. So at the end of the day, a really straightforward wiring kit that's going to make your life a little bit easier whenever you are ready to flat tow. Now, as far as the installation goes, it's really not super complicated. However, it is time consuming just trying to run all the wires and getting your hands behind the taillight to get everything connected. But as long as you take your time, it shouldn't really give you too many issues. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and do that together now. To begin our installation, you're first going to want to hook up your 6-way plug. Now, in our case, our customer actually hooked up the majority of the kit, but I still think it would be useful to at least show you how to do this and kind of what wire goes where and so on. So that's how we're going to do it this time around. So the 6-way plug is relatively easy. You're going to want to find a spot to mount it. In this case, there's a small hole drilled under here, and it's mounted like that. I think it's a good idea. It's out of the way, easy to get to, and you can't really see it, which is good. You don't really want to take away from the looks of your Navigator. With that being said, there's going to be 4 wires that we need to hook up that go to the back of it. Now, in this case, he extended the wires so they're all the same color. You don't need to do that. More or less, the reason he did is so he could put these quick connects on here, so you could take it off very easily. With that being said, though, on the back of your plug, there's going to be some letters which are labels indicating to you which wire goes where. So you're going to have an RT for right turn, so your green wire will go to it. You're going to have an LT for left turn, so your yellow wire will go to that one. You're going to have a TM for taillights, so your brown wire will go to it. And then you're going to have a GD for ground, and your white wire will go to that. That's going to be your ground wire. So now what we can do is start to route our wiring from our plug to the back of our vehicle. So it's actually in this wire loom here. You can see the green, yellow, white, and brown. But all it does is it just runs up through here. And then if you kind of just peel your wheel well liner back, follow that kind of up and along. So imagine it running through here. And if I kind of peel that back, you can see where that wiring runs down. You want to zip tie it along the way to keep it secure and avoid any hot or moving parts when you're doing this. That wire just runs along through here and follows the frame rail down on this side. So it just continues along up through here. So here you can see the wiring routed on the outside of our frame rail, where it continues down. And then up in this area here, the wiring actually kind of shoots to the inside of our frame rail and back underneath of our vehicle. So underneath the vehicle now, kind of at the very back of our fuel tank here, you can see that's where the wiring comes out. And we continue to route it back, up and over our subframe. Along the side of our spare tire. It runs back. And then right here, what you're going to do is run your white, brown, and yellow wire up into the driver's side taillight pocket. And when you do that, what you're going to want to do is tape on an extra piece of, in our case, white wire, because this is going to be used as a jumper to go from the driver's side to the passenger side. So get probably, say, a good 8-10 foot. Just be on the safe side. Tape that additional wire to the original white, brown, and yellow wires. Pull that up. Then you're going to route that additional white wire and the green wire over to the passenger side. That just follows right behind the bumper here. And in our case, looks like you may have ran short a wire. It changes, that white wire turns into a brown wire. So it looks like you just extended it. It's no big deal. You may have to do that if you don't have enough wire. And that does the same thing. It just routes over through here and through that opening into the passenger side taillight pocket. Now what we can do is start to hook up our diodes. So you are going to have to pull the taillight out to get that done. In our case, it was already removed, kind of just sitting in there. But it looks like you'd have a 10mm nut there and there, an 8mm bolt down here, and if you look on the back of the taillight, we're going to have this alignment dowel. So when you're pulling this out, you definitely want to keep that in mind and kind of put some, almost like some upward pressure on it like that, and it should pop out. Now, with that being said, we have quite a few wires, but it's a lot more simple than what it looks. If you look at our diode, we're going to have a handful of connections that we need to make. So let's go ahead and start with our ground. So you're going to crimp on a terminal here and use the included length of white wire. Crimp on a ring terminal, and that's just going to get secured to the body of our vehicle there. Any piece of sheet metal will provide that ground. The car brake out is this pink wire. Now these wires have been extended. It looks like you don't have a ton of room to work in here, so this may be the best bet. But that wire is going to run down to the harness, the factory plug there. You're going to cut that purple wire with the green tracer, or I'm sorry, just the solid purple wire. You're going to cut that closest to the connector side and plug it in to this wire there. So that will be for your car brake out. For your car brake in, again, this is just a pink wire that's been extended. You're going to go to the other side from where you cut that purple wire in half. You're going to crimp on a connector and plug it into the other side of that solid purple wire, if that makes sense. As far as the RV tail and the RV brake, the RV tail light is going to be the brown wire that comes from our 6-way from up front. And the RV brake is going to be the yellow wire that comes from our 6-way up front. So once you have all these connected, you can find a way to secure this diode. There's sticky tape on the back of it. It looks like that might be a solution to stick it to the back, or you can always just kind of zip tie it to some existing wiring or something like that. You just want to prevent it from bouncing around and potentially coming loose or damaged. Now over here on the passenger side, we can get our diode hooked up as well. very, very similar to the other side. Your white wire there, it's going to be your ground, which gets secured to the body of the vehicle. The car brake out is that brown wire there. Again, that's wire's been extended, but that goes to the purple wire closest to the plug for our taillight. RV brake, that's going to be your green wire from the 6-way. The RV tail is going to be the wire that we jumped over here from the RV tail on the driver's side. And the car brake in is that green wire there. Again, that's been extended, but that's going to get connected to the other side of the factory purple wire. Now, it is a good idea to test your wiring to make sure that it's working properly. So I hooked up to a tester box. Try our tail lights, our brake lights. We'll try our left turn signal and our right turn signal. And that'll finish up our look at and our installation of the Roadmaster Smart Diode Wiring Kit on our 2020 Lincoln Navigator.